All right, good morning, Tigers. This is Mr. Bogue, and I'm here this morning to take you through our emergency drills and make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as what we need to do in each one of those situations. There's been some changes based on some of the events that have happened this year. Some of these changes are district-wide, so we just want to make sure all students are informed and that you know everything that you need to do in any given situation. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Okay, so first up is a fire alarm. So it's going to be very similar to what you've experienced in elementary school and middle school, and what you've done so far here. And your first order of business is to get yourself out of the building. That's the plan, right? So you hear a fire alarm, you follow the map, and you see the map on the screen here. You follow your map from your specific classroom. Your teacher's also going to be giving you instructions. Follow the teacher instructions to your evacuation route. Get yourself out of the building and in a calm and orderly fashion. And like I said, listening to teachers in this situation is the most important to make sure that we're all on the same page. Again, so if you do see something on your way out that is unusual, like for instance, maybe smoke in the hallway, or you smell something in the hallway, or you see somebody who is struggling to get themselves out of the building, then you continue to evacuate, but you let an adult know as soon as you can. And again, because the priority is to get you out of the building, even if you don't run into an adult till you get outside, then that is the way that it is. We just need to find an adult and let them know what you saw, and that way we can make sure to respond to it. If you are one of the folks who might struggle to get yourself off of any certain floor, like third floor, second floor, that type of thing, because the fire or the elevators are going to be shut down at that point, you need to go to one of our mobility classrooms, and you can find those. They have a big sign in the window, the former handicap sign or disability sign that you might see like in a parking lot. And those are going to be in the window. And those rooms in the field house, that room is 104 and F269. F269 is Mrs. Haynes' room, the band room, right? F104 is directly beneath it on the first floor. Right, in the main building, it's going to be the 35 rooms. So 035, 135, 235, and 335 are the mobility classrooms. In the commons, it is going to be the ones furthest to the west, the closest to the door over in the commons, and that is going to be 027 or C027 and C127. So those are the classrooms that you head to if you are struggling to get out of the building. That is the first place that first responders or administrators are going to check for you. So make sure that you remain in that classroom if that's the case, so that we know where to come find you. All right. Now, once you're outside, this is where things are going to be a little bit different for our students. So this is important to pay attention to this part if you haven't been up till now. You want to make sure that you are finding your advisory teacher. So the teacher whose class you are currently in, that is your advisory teacher. Each one of them is assigned in a section, and they're going to have a specific spot in that section as well. But you can see the section on the, there. On this, you can see on the map or in the picture above me, your teachers are assigned to specific sections, and each one of us administrators are in charge of those sections. So you go to your advisory teacher out there, you get there as quickly as you can so that the teacher can take roll. We need to know who is out there and who is might still be in the building. So reporting there is a critical component. Once you're there, you are staying in your section, you are following teacher directions, and you are essentially waiting for instructions at that point. Same thing that we've been doing any other time. But the real key here is that advisory teacher. That's who you're finding. They're going to have signs either on a yardstick or holding up otherwise that will show you where they are. So you can just look above the crowd and you can find the person that you need to find. And your teacher in advisory right now does know what section they're in. So they're assigned to a specific spot. After we do the first drill, you're going to know where your teacher stands in that section. All right, so next up is going to be evacuations. We already did a drill this year. It went really well. You guys did a great job. So 99% of you know exactly what to do. Maybe some people who weren't here, so we'll go through it real briefly. Same drill as far as getting out of the building. You're going to be following teacher instructions when you hear the alert, following your evacuation route out of that classroom, and you're going to be heading out of the building as quickly and orderly and calmly as you can. Once you're out of the building, you're not going to be going underneath the freeway. You're going to be heading south up the hill to Corbin Park. And so make sure that you're heading in the right direction. We're going to have staff members that are at the crosswalks to make sure to support people. Look both ways before you cross the street. There's almost 2,000 of you, so it's going to be pretty obvious that kids are crossing the street. But do not trust anything when it comes to your own safety. Look both ways, make sure you're being safe crossing streets, especially Stevens. So once we get out there, then we'll go into the roll thing, and I'll go into that here quickly on the next slide. If you are immobile again, or you can't get yourself out of the building or that or that floor, report to the mobility classroom, and that is the first place first responders and administration will go to make sure that everybody is evacuated safely. Okay, so once we are outside, you can see on the picture on this slide here that the routes that you're going to be taking, if you're in the main building or you're in the Commons, you're going to be going up Howard, which is directly behind the Commons. So if you were to walk right out the back of the Commons, you will see the street that is heading up to Corbin Park. So following that, if you are in the main building or in the Commons, if you're in the field house, you're going to have to cross Stevens. And so this is again where that safety piece is really important. Stevens is an arterial. It's a very busy street, so do not just automatically have faith that everybody sees you. Staff will be out there to assist. When you get there, just like a fire drill, you're going to be reporting to your advisory teacher. So teachers are going to be lined up alphabetically across the park, right, from east to west. A in the east, where the field house side, and then Z is going to be over in the west side. Find your teacher. They're going to, again, have their signs indicating where they are. Line up single file and orderly so that they can take roll as soon as possible when we're up there. And then at that point, same deal as the fire drill. You're going to be awaiting instructions. So, all right, next up. All right, so next up we're going to talk about lockdowns. This has been on a lot of people's minds, especially since December 9th. So we've made some adjustments based on feedback from that, both at the district level and the school level. At the district level, it's primarily around communication and making sure that we are talking to each other in real time as quickly as possible, and we're moving forward as fast as we can. I'm going to talk to you today about what we need to do at the school level. So first thing that you're going to hear if we go into lockdown, you're going to hear a wail over the top of the loudspeakers. It is different than the fire alarm noise, and we are going to be playing an example of that a little bit later in this period. So once you hear the wail, then we are in a get out, hide out, take out scenario. So first we're going to talk a little bit about get out. The circumstances that might dictate you needing to get out are like, for instance, on December 9th, where some of the students were in the Commons and it happened during lunch, right? There's not enough room in all of the classrooms in the immediate area to pack everybody in. So students did exactly right, and a lot of them responded to what the police said and got themselves out. Now, if you do end up evacuating, say, again, you could be in a passing period and there's no immediate open doors, and so you find yourself finding an exit and getting yourself out of the building or something like that. We are going to, same as evacuation, we're going to be going directly up to Corbin Park. So you're going to be heading south, up Howard or up Stevens, and you're going to be getting over to Corbin Park. The difference when you get there is that you're not going to find your advisory teacher, or you're unlikely to find your advisory teacher when you get there. District staff, if we go into lockdown, is going to show up to Corbin Park because your teachers are likely in lockdown in the building at the time. So you may beat some of the staff up there. When you do, help others remain calm and wait for the staff to arrive, and they will be there immediately as quickly as humanly possible. So that's essentially what we're asking you to do. If you do evacuate, follow the procedures. Make sure that if you can know where the threat is, moving away from that threat and getting yourself up to the park. Okay, so next up we're talking about the hideout scenario in a lockdown. So this is where the vast majority of students are going to find themselves in any lockdown scenario, whether you're already in class or whether you're in the hallway, and the most immediate safe place that you have is right across the hallway where a teacher has their door open and is waving kids in. Okay, getting yourself behind a locked door is a critical part of what we're trying to do. So teachers, like I said, will be waving students into their classroom, trying to get as many kids out of the hallway as they possibly can, and then shutting the door. Once teachers shut the door, we are instructing them not to answer the door for any reason unless it's law enforcement or an announcement by the administration. So getting there quickly is a really important component. Find the first teacher, first classroom, first locked door, get behind it. And even in some scenarios where you don't have like a teacher in the room, getting yourself behind a locked door is better than nothing else. So Make sure that you are following teacher instructions. Again, I'm going to say that on almost every single slide here, right? Then when we're in the classroom, we are looking for silence. We're not looking for quiet. We are looking for silence. Okay? The object is to make sure that every classroom looks as empty as it possibly can, right? So you're decreasing your visibility. You're getting away from doors and windows, possibly under your desks, as the teacher might be instructing at the time, right? So then also we need to stay off of our phones. And now I understand that you may need to communicate with the people you care about and let them know that you're safe. Please do so through text message. Hey, if you're talking on the phone, you're creating noise, and that's not what we're looking to try to do. Also, be considerate about the light that your cell phone may be making. If you can have it under a shirt or you can have it under a coat, something like that would definitely work better. So also, folks, we need you to stay off of social media. Okay, now, one of the worst things that happen in these scenarios is police officers chasing down things that aren't true and going on wild goose chases. We need verified information. If you hear something that might be happening, you need to communicate that to an adult, and the law enforcement and administration in the building need to verify what's going on with that, because we have to make sure that we are going after the problem and not going on wild goose chases. So staying off social media is important. Rumors can really hurt in these situations, so be considerate about that. So also, of course, for you, do not answer the door for any reason. The police will have keys. They will be given keys to key into the room, so you do not need to answer the door. Okay? And we will be making announcements as they're sweeping through the building, letting you know exactly where they are, as much as possible, as long as law enforcement allows us to in that situation. So we're going to be making sure we're communicating with you and with your teachers as best we can. Your job at that point is to sit and await further instructions. Okay, so the next step is the takeout component. In a takeout situation, this is when you absolutely cannot find yourself in any sort of secure room or behind a barrier. It is an absolute last resort. This is obviously not fun to talk about, but it is important that we prepare for everything. So in those situations, what the recommendations from law enforcement and security folks is that you identify something that you might be able to defend yourself with, whether it's throwing a stapler at them or whether it's finding a fire extinguisher or finding something heavy or something long to keep the person at arm's length. Those types of things are considerations for you in that situation. And what the number one key is do not hesitate. That's what they say. So make sure that when you decide to act, you act quickly and you do not hesitate. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk a little bit about what is happening outside the classroom. We got a lot of questions about what is happening, why is this taking so long, which is a valid question. So just so you know, knowledge is power helps keep people calm, so letting you know what's happening outside the classroom. When first responders first get on scene, they are not providing medical attention. They are not stopping to explain to us what is happening. They are responding immediately to the threat. If they know the location, they're heading there. If not, then they may be stopping briefly to find out if we might know. But they are going directly to the threat, right, which I very much appreciate. Right? So once they've established either the threat is not in that spot, or potentially maybe there isn't a threat, or they determine that we need to search the entire building, we will be going through the systematic search. This is the part that takes a lot of time because they need to go through classroom by classroom. The police, as I talked about in the last slide, are going to have keys, so they will announce themselves and then they will enter the room. So that's what you can expect from them. Okay. Then when it's determined by them that the building is secure and safe, that there's no threat anymore, then they're going to be either lifting the lockdown, or we will be lifting the lockdown, or we'll be moving to a secure and teach like we did on December 9th. We'll talk a little bit about the secure and teach here on the next slide. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the alternative lockdowns, or basically the other two types. What I was just discussing is a full lockdown, right? But there are two other types, and they are very similar in terms of what your expectations are, or what we need from you in these. All right, so first is secure and teach, second is shelter in place. Depending on which one we call, you may have some idea of exactly what might be happening out there. So if we call a secure and teach, it means that something is happening in the community that could potentially pose a threat, but we do not not think that it poses an immediate threat. Okay, so your rule in Secure and Teach is to drop whatever you're doing, get to your assigned classroom, and your teacher's going to shut the door, shut the blinds, and they're going to continue on with their lesson. In this scenario, noise level is not as much of a concern. Again, this is likely something that's happening blocks away, but we're in the general vicinity, so we need to make sure that we've got students accounted for and that we know everybody's safe and that you're in a safe place. Okay. So the other one is shelter in place. It's a similar type of thing, but this is usually for more like environmental type of things, like maybe a truck tipped over on the freeway behind us here, and we don't exactly know what might be in the back of it. Different things like that. So with shelter in place, same thing. Drop what you're doing, get to your assigned classroom. Your teacher's going to shut and lock the door, and then we'll move on from there. All right, so that brings to a close what we needed to cover today. Thank you very much for listening. We are also going to be going over a review tomorrow and talking about what the expectations are to make sure everybody knows what we need to do. If you have any questions, please communicate that to your teacher, to a counselor, or to me. We'll be happy to clarify, or if there's something that you want addressed, we're happy to do that as well. We're looking for feedback, but start with your advisory teacher, and then we'll go up from there. All right. Thank you, Tigers. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day. All right. Bye.